set up a trade, actually set it up, because I've been spending time like going through these videos and then just getting more acquainted with Thor, but then to actually like set up a trade, what do I do? So I'd really appreciate if you go over that.
Totally. And thank you for bringing that up. So we're going to look at drift because let's support the homies. You know, drift is okay. When you start looking, how do I say this? When you start looking at where to trade, volume really comes into play. Drift is not the best solution when it comes to like massive amounts of liquidity. Solana DeFi sucks. There's not a ton of trading happening on Sol DeFi, but we're just going to use Drift as a recommendation. Or here, this is an Ethereum-based trading platform, which has absolutely fucking killer volume. We are rolling out our automated services to being able to take advantage of this soon, but just for ease of use, since I have an account set up over here, we will go ahead. You'll see how baller I am with my bonk. All right. So I have two wallets on this right here. This is just my non-ledger protected, and then this is my ledger protected. When you're interacting on a decentralized exchange, it will ask for wallet confirmation. If you don't mind having to approve those transactions on your ledger every single time, you can use your ledger. I will put a very small portion of my portfolio over on a hot wallet. I'll trade on that just because I get tired of having to fucking approve everything. But it is a risk because you've got ledger protected. So let's go and what do we want to trade, y'all? Let's. Oh, I can't get in. So we're going to trade Solana. Now, I won't be able to bounce around since I switched wallets, so we're just going to use this as a reference. Let's just say, for whatever time frame, this is the trade we want to take. Now, you have to ask yourselves two questions. Am I opening up a perpetual contract, or am I buying the actual asset? We're going to show you both. And I already have some of these set up. So I'm at Drift, and I am in perpetuals. We talked about perpetuals being just speculating on the price action. What we're going to do is that there's different order types over here. Market means that you're going to fire off your order and it will just execute on these pending orders over here. These are people physically buying or selling an asset. They are longing or shorting, and you are either selling from them or buying from them at these prices. Market means that you fire directly into this order book, and that's where things like slippage come in. Slippage is a term that we didn't cover in 101, but we'll just touch on it super quick. Slippage is just a price variation in the asset that's available versus what you purchase it for. The trading, where's the actual real life trading? Currently, Solana is this price right here, 23.54. If we wanted to go spot, we would have to buy at these prices or inverse at that price. And so slippage, when these are dead order books or really empty order books, you can start running into slippage because you're trying to execute a large order and there's not enough at the price that you want. You know, we're looking at pretty relatively small sizes here. 352 Solana, 3,000, 2,000. You know, you're getting into some more right there. So the bigger trade that you have, you know, it's recommended to go to a trading platform where there's a good amount of volume. Drift is not really that, but that's what we're going to use just for the reference. The same fundamentals apply both ways. So we're trading using Thor. We know when we want to buy shit. We know when we want to sell shit. We're going to go and we're going to select limit. Limit gives you the option of setting your order in advance of the price action getting to that entry zone. Limit, I'm going to physically set the price that I want to open up a contract. And let's just reference Thor. Thor says long at these prices. I'm going to say, okay, cool. I'm going to fucking set an order right here. So the limit price, 23,113 to 2307. This just gives you a small range. You can either be on the low end or the high end of it. That's really up to you. Sometimes they won't fill by a couple pennies. Sometimes they will. So I'm just going to say I like to go on the high end personally. I don't really care about a small amount of variation. I might set 80% of my trade up at this price and then 20% at this price or anywhere in between, just in case it does dip below, then I can average in a little bit more. So 21 or 23.13. So I'm going to open up a limit order at 23.13. Now, you can either select on Drift the amount of Solana that you would like to purchase at that price, or the amount of USD that you would like to purchase at that price. I'm just going to check my balances right quick. I have like $1,300 in this little account. No big deal. I set this up yesterday for us to be able to walk through some of this, and we go from there. So I deposited some Solana and I deposited some USD. So I'm going to go long. And we talked about, some of the, what's the take profit on this? 23.77. So it's really not that big a trade. Well, let's just say, cool. I'm going to put, I've got $850 or whatever in this account.
And this is Drift Perpetuals, correct?
Correct. This is Drift Perpetuals. And we'll cover spot here in a second too.
Bet.
So cool. I'm going to open up this long. I've got $850. I'm going to do a $50 trade. No big deal. It'll tell you how much Solana that you're longing at that price. It will tell you leverage. Since I have the capital to cover that, I'm not really using any leverage. Now we're going to go down here and we're going to do two things. Take profit and stop loss orders. When you start getting into this leverage and all this, you can fuck around and see what happens. Like, oh shit, I don't want to do that. It starts changing because you don't have the capital to cover $3,000, so it tells you how much leverage you need to buy. But I personally don't do that, so I'm just going to go $50. I can cover that trade. My take profit levels. So when you reach your take profit screen, it's asking you at what price do you want to take profit, or at what percentage profit do you want to take. This is a quick selection, 315. We're going to do what we do best, and we're going to use Thor. And I am a take profit level 1 maxi, and I'm going to put my take profit at 23.70. Okay, now stop loss. How do I calculate stop loss? What amount of money am I willing to lose on this trade? How much, what do I want to lose? I really don't like losing more than 5% on a trade. 10% if I'm feeling fucking ballsy. But since we're talking perpetuals here, remember, if the trade goes the wrong way, you've got nothing other than negative numbers looking at you. You only lose money if the trade goes the wrong way. On spot, I don't set stop losses. I don't give a fuck. I'll go and do something else with it. But for this, we're just going to say I'm going to take a 50 or a 5% loss. It tells you at what price your stop loss is triggered, and it tells you how much. Now, this is when you can start looking at risk versus reward. Is this something that you start thinking is, advantageous for you as a trader? Maybe. Are you willing to risk 5% for a potential 2.75% gain? Maybe. Maybe that's you, maybe it's not. What would I do if it weren't me? Well, I'd say I'm wanting to take a 1-to-1 ratio. I'm only willing to lose as much as I'm willing to profit. So I'm going to set that at 2.75. My stop loss is triggered at this price now. My take profit is set at this price. I have a 1-to-1 risk versus reward. That is an okay place to be. I'm willing to lose as much money as I'm willing to make. Now, the inverse of that is definitely more from a trading portfolio. What is 5%? For me to get 5% profit, it has to get to 24. Does Thor say we're going to get to 24? Shit, it does. 24.16. You can see how your own strategy and risk tolerances start playing into it. Do you want to go for take profit level 1? Are you happy with just a 3% trade? Do you want that 5%? These are questions that I can't answer for you, but I can give you my recommendations is be happy with any profit. As you're learning how, especially, happy with those 3% gains. They really add up over time.
Hey, I've got a question for the well, more so for spot, because with perpetuals, I noticed like there's a execution fee. Does that also, is there a fee applied to spot as well?
There is. Yeah, Coinbase is one of the worst ones. They have really expensive fees. And that is one that's a really great point that I didn't touch on. Is you're running these assumptions. One of the assumptions is that you have to pay for each of these trades. Now, we'll see all of that here in a second. So I'm putting $50 on the line. I'm either going to win $1 or I'm going to lose $1. Risk to reward ratio is 1, like we talked about. Yeah, cool. I'm going to set that. Now, this is when, that conversation gets brought up is what is the, what are the fees? What do those really play into? Let's see. So we've got this. We know what we're doing. We know how much SOL we're longing. We know the price. And we're now looking at a fee, 5 cents. It's going to cost us 5 cents for this trade. Now, that digs into a small profit margin. You're taking up a pretty good portion of that profit overall, but relatively speaking, not that much. So I'm okay with it personally. When you go to trade spot, it's generally a percentage of the trade that you're taking. The bigger the trade, the more fee that you have to pay. But the expectation is the more profit that you'll make overall. So I've set up my trade. I've looked at Thor. I've looked at my risk to reward calculator 1-to-1. I'm personally okay with that. And we're going to take this trade. It's going to ask me in my wallet. I'm going to confirm. And I placed 3 orders. I placed my buy limit. I set where I'm going to take the order at. I set my take profit order. And I set my stop limit. So that's why this says 3 orders right now. And now it'll show over here. So we see this. It's not been flagged. There's not entry, not exit. Nothing's happened. We're good to go. And that's how you take that trade.